So I just got through watching this interview with Moses Itauma or Itauma. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I haven't yet asked any of my Nigerian friends for the correct pronunciation. So in fact, I'll put it out to the audience. If there are any Nigerians that, well, I'm sure there are loads of Nigerians out there. They're everywhere, right? If you're Nigerian, and I don't want to hear from anyone who isn't Nigerian regarding the pronunciation of this name. If you are Nigerian, tell me the correct pronunciation. Is it Itauma or Itauma? You guys let me know. Anyway, I watched this interview, very interesting. He talks about lots of different things, talks about turning pro, talks about signing with Frank Warren and why he did it and why he turned pro so young, talks about his amateur career briefly. And the most interesting part of it, at least for me, is when he talked about his style. And he says many other things as well, but talks about his style. And he said that he doesn't go into fights with a game plan. He just wings it. He figures it out while he's in there. This is something that is very, very important because it shows that you have a thinking fighter. It shows you have a fighter who can think on their feet, who doesn't need to be put on rails by a trainer and told what to do every step of the way, but he can figure it out. And most of the best fighters of all time, this is what they're like. They can figure it out for themselves. This is what you call innate ring intelligence. And I spoke in a recent video about the whole idea of intelligence, right? Some people are well educated, they're knowledgeable, but not all people. In fact, I'm going to say most people in general, whether they're educated or not, are not really innately intelligent. Okay, but you do have a minority who are educated and a minority who are not educated that have this innate intelligence about them, where you don't need to tell them. I mean, obviously you give them information, but the way they process the information is just better than everybody else. They have better critical thinking skills. They have a better imagination. They can see things and work things out that other people can't. You see? And of course, there are different forms of intelligence. You might be someone that applies what I just described to science or medicine or whatever the case may be. Business, business is a different type of intelligence that's required. If you're someone that is successful in the business world, let's say you are in a big corporation or whatever, and you manage to rise to the top, you need to be intelligent as far as dealing with people. You need to have people skills. It's no good being some Poindexter who, you're a quantum physicist or something, but you're like a recluse and socially awkward. You're not going to do well in a corporation, right? You're going to have people. You're going to have a different kind of intelligence. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. As it relates to boxing, there are some fighters who have this innate ring intelligence. And the great fighters have it. Muhammad Ali had it. He figured things out for himself. Of course, his trainer gives him certain tips and they learn certain things along the way. But there's a type of intelligence that you can't teach. You either have it or you don't have it. Muhammad Ali had it. And in more recent times, Tyson Fury's got it. He's absolutely got it. As much as I criticize Tyson Fury, look, I'm not a hater, people, despite what idiots in the comments might say. And I say that because I will give credit where it's due. I will often sit here praising so many attributes that Tyson Fury has because I'm just being real. But at the same time, I'm not a fanboy. I'm not going to allow Tyson Fury to bamboozle and trick the public and not say anything about it. I'm going to talk. All right, that's just the way I am. So a lot of people, when they come to my channel, they get confused because most people are coming from a biased perspective as far as boxing. They have their fighters that they like, and as far as they're concerned, those guys can do no wrong. And then the fighters they don't support, they're happy to criticize and whatever. And so when they come to my channel, they assume I'm like them. I'm not like you. On this channel, everybody can get it. No fighter is below praise and no fighter is above criticism. That's been my motto on this channel for years. And I stand by that. Anyway, get to the point, Hat Man. I know some of you guys are getting impatient. So, with Moses Itauma, he appears to have that innate ring intelligence that you need. And certain fighters don't have it. I'm going to say Amir Khan doesn't have it. As athletically gifted as Khan was throughout his career, he was a guy that needed to be put on rails. He needed to be coached through every minute of every round in a fight. That's why Virgil Hunter was so good for him, because Virgil Hunter had that kind of father figure way about him where he could coach a fighter through every minute, hold his hand through a fight. Do you know what I mean? So Khan was a bit like that. AJ, not to the same extent as Khan, but he also kind of needs to be have his hand held by the coach through a fight and told what to do and stuff like that. He isn't as innately intelligent in the ring as a Tyson Fury or an Alexander Usyk, etc., etc. But Moses Itauma appears to have that X factor, the ability to figure out what to do without even being told. Yeah, and it's not like, I guess that is a danger sometimes with these fighters, is because they have so much innate ring intelligence, there's a tendency with some of them maybe to not listen because they feel like they know more than the coach. Yeah, that can definitely happen. But sometimes that's actually for the good. So an example would be Muhammad Ali when he fought George Foreman. Angelo Dundee was telling Ali to get off the ropes. And Ali said that he told Dundee to shut up. I know what I'm doing. And it might have looked like madness at the time, but it worked, didn't it? Ali understood what was going on in the ring. He read the situation. He knew how he felt, and he believed he knew, and it turned out that he was correct, how George Foreman felt psychologically and physically as far as getting tired and all this kind of thing. So he read the room perfectly, Ali. You know what I mean? And he stopped Foreman in the 8th round, the only guy to ever stop George Foreman. So, yeah, sometimes when the fighter does their own thing and disregards what the coaches say, it actually works out for the best. But as I say, with these fighters that have this innate ring intelligence, they're the ones who can do that. Sometimes, of course, it could backfire if the fighter gets too arrogant, believing in themselves a bit too much. Then, you know, when you can't take any advice at all, it can be an issue. Let's see how far Moses Itauma goes with this innate ring intelligence that he appears to have. And if you watch his amateur fights, you can see what he's talking about with regards to thinking on his feet, adapting his style to different opponents, because he doesn't box the same way every fight. If you look at those fights in the World Championships, there are certain fights where he's coming forward and he's being very aggressive. There are other fights where he's just in the middle of the ring. And there's fights where he's on the back foot, moving about. So that is something that's good to see. And he looks very comfortable in all three of those modes from what I've seen. So yeah, very interesting to see this young man's career unfold. There's no telling at this stage, at least not by my way of looking at it, whether he's going to be successful in beating Mike Tyson's record. It's a difficult thing to do, but he's certainly got age on his side. That's one thing we can say. And even if he wasn't to beat Mike Tyson's record, you know, we have to see whether he can tick certain boxes if he's going to become a championship level fighter. The chin, the heart, the stamina, so on and so forth. But one box, based upon what I've seen so far in his amateur career, that is at least half ticked, because amateur boxing is different to pro boxing. There's certain things you can get away with over 3 rounds. There's certain adaptations you can make in the 3-round fight that might not necessarily translate to a 12-round fight. Let's say you make an adjustment in a 3-round fight. Well, in a 12-round fight, there's 3 times as long as that for your opponent to make a counter adjustment. You see what I'm saying? So we'll see how it goes with Itauma as far as over the longer distances. So anyway, just some musings there with regards to Moses Itauma. I definitely recommend this interview. Very interesting. Talks about sparring a bunch of people like Joshua Okolie, Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois. Talks about Mike Tyson's record briefly on Beterbiev and Dubois, his relationship with his brother, the heavyweight division, and so on. And in fact, there's a part where the interviewer is asking him about the people he sparred, and I think he's asking him if he's been given any feedback. And he says Okolie obviously has given him a lot of praise and feedback. Joe Joyce has said a few things. He said Anthony Joshua has been silent, and they've used that in the title of the video. I'm not throwing shade on them. I do the same kind of things, but they've used that in the title of the video to get people to click on it. And it got me to click on it because I was hoping to hear that he, let's say, mashed up Anthony Joshua. I'm not hating on Joshua, but just from a new boxing news story perspective, it would be nice to be able to make a video where Itauma mashed up Joshua in sparring, but he doesn't say anything like that. All he says is AJ hasn't really said anything about their sparring. He's been silent. But AJ's a silent type anyway. He doesn't really get on social media and start talking about his life and talking about boxing. He doesn't really do that too tough. AJ has always come across as quite a private person. And I respect that. I absolutely respect that. He's quite a private person. He's guarded and all that kind of thing. So I'm not reading too much into him not saying anything about Moses Itauma. To this point, I don't think it necessarily means he's, embarrassed because he got battered or something by Itauma in sparring. I think he was brought in to be a sparring partner for AJ for the Usyk fights, at least for one of the fights, maybe both of them. And one thing that Itauma does say, should I make this the title of the video? I'm not sure. But one thing Itauma does say is that he wants to spar Tyson Fury. He hasn't sparred Fury yet, but he wants to spar him. And if this Fury-Usyk fight happens, you could see why Tyson Fury might want to do that, might want to bring in Moses Itauma, because there are some similarities between him and his style and Alexander Usyk's style. Obviously, he's bigger than Usyk, but he moves around in a way that's quite similar. A very good foot speed and balance and all that kind of thing. And he's a southpaw, of course. He's got the youth. So maybe Tyson Fury might want to do that. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all the points I've raised in this video.